Okay, so today our next topic where we want to speak about the verb used to, right? So it's not too easy construct, but still kind of, let's say, understandable. So if you maybe look at this used to, it's kind of, let's say, the verb use in a past form, which is kind of, let's say, the topic um, of our lesson today, but it's actually not really, let's say, this case, right? So it's a very, let's say, unique grammar structure. It's not, let's say, past simple in this ordinary form uh, like you can see in other sentences where we are using past simple for verbs, right? It's a very specific grammar construction, right? And so um, what we are speaking here is basically we sometimes can use this grammar structure for some events in the past, exactly in the past, that was very, how to say, close to us, something that we were very, so to say, um, it was like our habit, basically. So we had some habit in the past, and now we most likely do not have this habit anymore, but it's some activity, regular activity in our past, but it's kind of our habit, became our habit mostly, some regular things that we did, but now we are not doing it. We are not doing it anymore today. And for example, it's always with some sentences, for example, when I was a child or when I was a teenager. So maybe there are some actions, and most likely there will be some, that you had a habit to do in the past, but now you do not have this habit, right? Maybe you, let's say, maybe you was swimming a lot when you was a child, right? Maybe you, I don't know, was playing chess a lot, or was riding a bicycle, or I don't know what it can be. But now maybe it's different, right? Maybe now you're an adult and you have your adult life with work and I don't know, whatever you are doing in your life. But maybe you do not, let's say, swim every day or do not play chess every day, but you, and I want to say used to do it when you was a child, or you had a habit to do it when you was a child. And so we are using this used to when we want to describe some action in the past that was something regular for us, some our regular habit, but now we are not doing it anymore, right? So I used to play basketball every Saturday when I was a teenager. Or as well, you can say I would play basketball every Saturday when I was a teenager. So that means that when you was a teenager, you had a habit of playing basketball every Saturday. It was some regular activity that you like to do a lot. But now, in the present time, you are most likely do not doing it anymore, right? You do not do it anymore, and uh, so. Um, Yeah, so what's maybe the difference between this would and used to? It's only with the verbs that we are using here. So as you may remember, we have active or dynamic verbs like to eat or to run. And we also have more, let's say, stative verbs like let's say to laugh or to like, which mostly describe some sort of stative situation, right? And so here, for example, we have a sentence, I loved toy shops when I was a kid. And if we want to emphasize, if we want to really, let's say, add this meaning of having a habit of loving these toy shops in the past, but most likely not having this habit right now, right? We should use either used to or would, right? Because they are kind of same. But the difference is here with stative verb to love, we can only use used to, right? I used to love toy shops when I was a kid, but not I would love toy shops when I was a kid. But we can use both of them when we have some active verb. For example, like here, I would play basketball every Saturday when I was teenager, or I used to play basketball every Saturday when I was teenager, or let's say I used to run 3 kilometers every Saturday when I was a teenager, or I would run 3 kilometers every Saturday when I was a teenager. Okay, no matter. So it's dynamic verb, and here we can use both. But for stative verbs like to love, we can only use used to. So that's the difference. And for negative, you can maybe add never. For example, I never used to like chocolate, but I do now, meaning that in my life, before, I didn't really have this habit of loving chocolate, right? But you can also add, but I do now, which is totally okay. Or you can not add this. You if you like chocolate now, you can add it. If you don't, you can also not add it. You can also not add it. Sorry. Yeah. And so for this negative forms, it's also possible. For example, you can say not I never used, but I didn't used, or I didn't use, or I used not to, which are maybe totally okay. But maybe this first one is kind of maybe better. So better use I didn't used to. Like, did you used to, or did you use? But I mean, you can still use this 2 or 3, but this first is sort of better. But I mean, you can use both of them. Maybe, I don't know, there may be some dialect difference or whatever it is. So maybe the only one thing I want to show you is the difference between this used to construction and to be plus used to, or to be plus get plus used to, right? So I want to show you some website here. For example, this Learn English British Council. And so as I said, we can use used to plus infinitive to talk about past situation. That is no longer true. As I said to you, right? She used to be long distance runner when she was younger, but right now she's not. She is not a long distance runner, right? And yeah, don't want to read this. But we also have the construction with to be plus used to, or to be plus get plus used to, let's say. So let's start maybe with to be plus used to. For example, she's used to the city now and doesn't get lost anymore. So the difference between these two is this to be used to have a meaning of, it has a meaning of being in a process of accommodation, like being in a process of adaptation, being familiar with something, right? And this can be used not only in the past simple, right, in past tense, but also in any tense you want. So you can use she's used to now, means that we are using here present simple, right? Or we can use past simple, like he wasn't used to. Or maybe you can say, let's say, I don't know, I will used to, for example. So basically we can use it in any tense you want. And for get used to, it's kind of the same, but it also a little bit related to the process of becoming familiar, right? A little bit related to the effort that we are doing to become familiar with it, right? So it's a little bit more about the process of becoming familiar and the efforts that we have here. For example, I'm finding this new job hard, but I'm sure I'll get used to it soon. So we are emphasizing that this person is in the real hard work, in the real process of becoming adapted to this new job, right? But here, the fact that she's used to the city is maybe not that related, not doesn't contain this sort of emphasizing this process or this effort that she did to accommodate, right? So here we always have this idea of accommodation, of a process of accommodation of the effort. But here we also have this idea, but maybe a little bit without showing this effort and without showing this process, right? So for example, I can show you here, somebody is asking what's the difference between I got used to and I am used to it, right? And some people are saying that firstly, it's different tenses, as you can see. So here it's got with past simple and I am with present simple. So it's a little bit different tenses, firstly. But secondly, this get shows the effort. For example, if you're used to it, then you got used to it in the past, right? And if you got used to it in the past, you're used to it now. So basically, adding this get is about progression of getting used to it, right? And this doesn't imply progression. So this to get is about adding a progression, right? That's only difference here. So for example, I like a lot this comment with got, you are saying that you applied some effort in getting used to it. With them, you may be saying the habituation happened without any effort on your part, although it doesn't positively assert there was no effort. Yeah, so I don't know what to add here. So for example, there are some videos, some websites like this, where it's described better, like a lot of specific parts of this text where first paragraph about used to, about something in the past, as you said, right, always refers to the past. For example, be used to is, let's say, the verb to be here, right? And about becoming familiar, becoming comfortable. And also you can use it in past. For example, was used to, and for get used to, it's a sister phrase, yeah, and it refers to the process of becoming, right? The effort, as we said. A lot of videos here. And yeah, so that's kind of everything. So maybe you can ask me like that sometimes people are saying got or gotten. If you want to say, for example, in present perfect, for example, I want to say I have gotten used to it, for example, or I have got used to it. But so the difference is only the difference between British and American English, right? So people in the United States and Canada use gotten, but English-speaking countries outside of the US and Canada use got. So that's mostly like, do you want to speak, let's say, American English or British English? And yeah, so sometimes people are asking, can we, let's say, use used to or used to? And the difference is only dialectic, right? So, so for example, here, did used to, kind of strange in American English, but in British it's okay. And yeah, people are saying that this and vowel, and consonants of this used are blended a little bit. So sometimes, I mean, many people can say used to rather than used to. As you maybe remember, I showed you here. So sometimes people are saying like this. So it's, not matter a lot. So I want to really make some conclusion of our lesson. So firstly, we can use the phrases like I used to or I would for and plus bare infinitive for the situations that happened in the that were happening, better to say, in the past, but now they are no longer true. For example, when I was a teenager, I used to play basketball every Saturday. I would play basketball every Saturday. So basically it's mostly about habits, about regular actions in the past. But you can only use would with active verbs, and you can use used to with all verbs, but would only with active verbs. So, for example, you can't use would with the verb love, with dative verb. This is not correct. But for, let's say, play, it's totally okay. And if you want to create negative form, you can either add never or didn't, or maybe used and then not. And for questions starting, you need to start with did and then either used to or use. So it's more correctly to, let's say, to say used here and here and there, but okay, you can use as well. And so the second one is about the difference between used to and be used to or get used to. The difference is that this one is used only for past situations, that is no longer true, and this can be used for all tenses, including continuous tenses or perfect tenses. And the difference between these two is that the second one is more about the process of becoming familiar with something, more about the process, the effort. For example, as I show you here, with God, you're applying some effort. Without this, no effort, right? And you can try to use them. You can try to use them in different tenses. For example, here it is used in past tense. Here it's in present tense. You can also create some phrase like I'm getting used to it, or I have gotten used to it, and try to understand the meaning of this phrases. But they are kind of, all of them are kind of close, and all of them kind of describes the process of becoming familiar of something, right? Process of becoming let's say, familiar with something, or becoming accustomed to something, right? Becoming adapted to something. So it's totally okay. And you can sometimes use have got used to, or have gotten used to, or even without this have and used to, just as it is. But you see that the difference between these two is just the difference between English and between British and American English. And yeah, so you can read the article like this to understand it better. But it's, I mean, totally okay. So yeah, I think it's everything I wanted to say here. So see you soon.